What a beautiful room full of people. This is awesome. Thank you so much for being here this evening. First and foremost, it's a really, really special occasion, as every book launch is, but we're exceptionally proud of this. So first of all, I would like to welcome you all here to Lighthouse Books, who've so generously hosting this wonderful launch. And I'd also like to welcome everyone who's joining us online. So hello, the online people. We are going to have a lovely launch in a moment, but I'm going to do the air hostess bit for you quickly, okay? There are no toilets really here in Lighthouse, so if you do need a comfort break, it's across the way in the pear tree. Hopefully you're all fine for about an hour. And in that hour, we're going to have a luscious lineup of poets for you, because not only have we got Titi herself, themselves, we also have two other wonderful poets who are very kindly supporting the launch and who will be introed to you in just a moment. So really excited about this. At the end, you will have the opportunity to have your books signed, and hopefully you will buy them and get them signed around the corner. And it's going to be a wonderful thing. You'll all have a chance to say hi. But before that, we're going to have a starting poem from Titi. We'll do the full intros after. But you're going to kick us off, yeah? Thank you. I'm much taller than this. Notes. Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, it's crazy. I know all of you think not quite. I'm really honored. And I'm really glad that we can come together in these times to celebrate and be together as community, whilst also be kind of aware of horrible genocide, slaughter, killing, injustice. We had an emergency demo just now in front of Parliament. And I really do want to kind of say thank you for coming and being together in times like this. And I want us to come together in solidarity and really speak up for what we believe in. And hopefully by doing that, we actually change and get the stuff that we want to see. And I think that's also what my pamphlet is about. So that's what let me just blah on about it. But yeah, what's happening in Rafah, but also what's happening in Sudan and Congo is really, really scary. And I think we need to keep holding on and keep coming together. And that's why the very first poem is a bonus poem that is not in the pamphlet that I love to read when I'm amongst people like yourselves who I call my community, because it's actually a poem about Yon Afro's third birthday. Oh, for those that know. And for the others, you'll just hear and you'll get it. It's called Glasgow King Street. Bare hair, clouds, flowers in the sky, dancing in knots, in braids, in weaves, in twists. Reflections of the sun. Brown, black, green, red, blonde, purple. Their bodies, slick, taking space, wide, laughing, chatting, round, stiff, and flexible. Fingers, licking caramelized plantain, dodo, dripping chicken jollof, happy cheers and bouncing bums, arms, smiles, breasts, hair, all of it. All pigments, coloring fabrics, compelling, contrasting, dancing with each other, raging for attention. Should I help you adjust your headscarf? So next we're going to have one of our guest poets, Brenda Ringesa. And Brenda is just this really wonderful person who just came along to one of my sessions one day. And I gave her a poetry prompt. And what you read, which was written in that then and there, was so astonishing that I just remembered your name forever. I was like, oh God, I need to find out more about Brenda and her work. Your official bio also says that you have worked in accounting and finance for over 10 years, and that you are working on your first novel and poetry collection right now, which is really exciting. Please look out for it. And Brenda has also worked on stage and performed as an amateur musical theatre. In amateur musical theatre and as an extra in movies. So please help me welcoming Brenda. Good evening, everyone. I am really honored to be here. Titi is such a great cheerleader for me, and I think has been, really paramount in my confidence to be able to, share my poetry with everyone. I've always written poetry, but I've never really shared it with anyone. But going on her sessions and having someone just, continue to push you is such an encouragement, and I hope that everyone who's going through whatever journey has a TT in their life who just pushes them on. So I've got a few poems of varying topics, so it was really quite difficult to choose what to say today. But I'll start with this one. It's called The Forgotten Men. It's really short, and I wrote it years ago, so it's just when I was going through stuff I found it. I buried you all in the depths of my womb, carried you all around like overgrown babies reluctant to breathe. You weighed me down between my thighs, but I could not seem to be broken. So I clenched my buttocks and pushed you further in. Nobody would ever call me weak, even when these tumors slept where my babies should have grown. This one's nameless, but it just speaks to, I guess, where we are feeling about everything that's going on in the world just now. We harbor hopes and dreams. We've allowed the darkness to dim, wedged between bruised thighs. We've allowed our mouths to dry, with desires unspoken and curses buried in our throats. We fear to name these ills, lest they wake and bury us in mass graves. We refuse to imagine, to hope. We're breathing so shallow we might be near dead. Yet the pain persists, and the poison we drink heals us for another generation. I blessed each one, washed each part in warm soapy water with drops of castor oil and steeped sage leaves. I started at my feet, desperate to keep the warmth in my chest and back. I prayed in the names of gods I no longer look like. I relieved myself of all connections in this new world. The dirt was inside me, but only my skin could I reach. I whispered the incantation of my grandmother past. Maybe she will hear me now. Tone deaf, she'd always looked at me with a pained scorn, like I had walked over the eggs of her favorite hen. United with the all-knowing, did she understand me now? Would it please her to see me, roots bare, no longer afraid to stand out or alone, my return, my rebirth? This is a wee poem I wrote for my daughter, but I feel like it's probably a little message for everybody. Just, everything feels crappy right now, but I feel like it's the last kicks of the dying horse. Don't be a whirlwind, my love, fiercely roaming the lands, leaving destruction in your path. Don't be a storm at sea, fighting the waters. No one sees that far. Don't be the wind in the hills, smashing into the boulders with no real place to go. Or lightning with a split second of a chance to make a mark. You, my child, are the bright summer sun warming the soils. You are the steady rains beckoning the seeds to plant. Even when the world gives you every reason to show your wrath, you, my dear, are the principled force that molds the earth. This poem I wrote, I think, back in 2016 when I was really homesick, and I wanted some way to connect with my past. It's called Bantu Opera. So I am from Zimbabwe, and growing up, I used to visit my grandmother who lived in a township called Farukuoye in Zimbabwe. So this is a poem about my memories of weekends and holidays with my grandmother. I heard their giggles in the distance. I heard them singing Amina Kadea. I heard their laughter merge with the sound of the Zuku bus. I heard the tapping of the fish rope on dry earth, dust rising into the air, and the older girls, skirts tucked in, determined to outdo one another. The mothers returning from the markets. I heard their palms clap in united laughter. A joke shared and the pain of a slow day at the store missed. I heard the quick patter of feet, children disappearing into their homes, footballs and skipping ropes abandoned, showers taken quickly before our minds ripe. Latecomers arriving to buy vegetables from my grandmother's garden before dusk's curfew. I heard the small children squeal with delight and run for their fathers, newspapers in hand. I heard young lovers sending signals to meet at the tuck shop. But Sadza duty keeps the expectant boy firmly hidden in the hedges. She will appear, skin glistening, a soft waft of dawn lotion, and a thick serving of Vaseline on her lips. I heard my home, its sighs, smiles, and growls. I heard it like it was yesterday, like time stood still and I was a little girl on the streets again. I heard it in my tomorrow, for this path I travel leads me back to where my heart has always been. My last one is called What Do You Remember About the Earth? This was from a workshop we did probably 2022, 2021, and it's part of the Alzheimer's Garden collection. What do you remember about the earth? The sun's rays pierce through the thatched roof and dance on her wrinkled face. She tilts her head up, eyes closed as though praying to the heavens. Her life began and will end in these lands, her ancestors buried in the nearby caves. She loves it here. The city held no appeal to her when all my eyes could see here was the absence of comfort. The kitchen door faces the mountain in the distance. Living landscapes need not hang on her walls. I interrupt her shallow breathing. What do you remember about the earth, Gogo, before our eyes were taught what is beautiful? Thank you. Wow, thank you. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Yeah, I feel so honored that you came today. Next up, we have Italy Hernandez. And they are the most wonderful person ever, a really good friend of mine. And I will never forget because the way we met was they saw me at Diddle and had assumed that we were already really close friends and we were jumping up and down and saying, like each other. And then I remembered we met online and we do actually know each other. And that was the start of a brilliant friendship. Yeah, thank you. Etsali is a non-binary Latin poet, coder, and DJ. Their work has been published in various publications, including 2022 mixtape, Writers of Color Anthology, Ascent Magazine, Poetry and Settled Status for All. Yes, please. We Were Always Here, a queer words anthology, and ceremony. They have also curated several projects such as Queer Disabled Love, Mourning and Memorializing Podcast, and the Soul Loser Queer Disabled Grief Scene with Sandra Allen for Disability Arts Online, and the Grief Offerings, End of Life Wishes Project, which was an audio transcribed conversation with Lydia Beatrice and Sandra Allen for the Care, Resistance, Joy program by Rhubarber Gallery. Shout out to them as well. And in 2022, Italy published a first poetry pamphlet from Murky Waters We Rise, which was published by Forest Publications. And there are very few VIP copies in the shop right now if you want to be one of the very few lucky ones. But we will just find a way to like get more people to read your work because it's exciting. Please help me welcome Italy. Introduction. Thank you very much for sharing your videos and you. I'm gonna read some work from my pamphlet and then other random bits. Some of it is about love. Some of it is about things that are happening now. And so maybe just be mindful that some of it might be quite challenging to hear. And if you need to step out, I won't be offended. Please take care of yourself as well. Through the window of intimacy. A dye-white bed in the kitchen from where I see how easily spring onions chopped finely, potatoes boiling with a pinch of salt, peanut butter, cumin, coriander, all combined into essence. Mundane moments that are transformed the minute easily after hits my chest. Their eyes trying to catch mine while I giggle at the bad jokes. An eternity contained in this room, transpiring love. This is no longer a kitchen. It's an alchemy room. We have transformed its essence in the same way we have done with each other. I could open the window and jump, knowing that you are at the other end, no matter what. The intrinsicalities of our relationship can only be felt. There are no words that will do it justice. This poem is called Untitled Poem in Second Person. You arrived with a visa for this country and had a happy life, but you had to stay and seek sanctuary here for many irrelevant reasons. It's been over 3 years and there's no answer to your application other than being detained at the police station for not having the correct passport. You ended up in a detention center in Scotland, a country you have never visited. Your lawyer has disappeared. She dropped you like a fly and got paid for doing nothing. In detention, you work for £1 an hour doing laundry. Why are you whitewashing? No one knows. You pass the days eating food that makes you ill and watching TV in the communal room till late. You see people around becoming angry zombies, depressed zombies, hopeless zombies. You're always cold because you didn't have a jacket when they took you. Your friends send you some treats that the guards take home from you. She laughs, opens them, and says with a muffled, but isn't allowed. As the week passes, you cry to sleep, eat less, and keep to yourself because each friend that you make has been taken away in the middle of the night. Sometimes on the good days, you go to the crafts workshop and put together some bracelets and earrings for a life you no longer have outside. This one is this time. It's a very short one. Amor, amor. Dime, amada mía, si en los balcones de la vida me has visto pasar buscando tu sonrisa. Si en las ventanas que reflejan tu cara también ves la mía. Si en los recovecos de tu corazón mi voz retumba como un tambor. Yo te busco y no te veo, y te busco y te encuentro, como la espuma sabe encontrar la orilla del mar. Another love poem. This one is called Collision. I see you and I can't breathe. Your dreamy eyes take me somewhere else, a place that doesn't exist on earth. I have been told that so much perfection can only exist in our imagination. Your presence makes my blood boil, fireworks in my mind, flowers growing in my mind, rain pouring non-stop, cherry trees blossoming in spring. You look at me and I shiver. The feel of your touch burns me, slowly like wood on a fire. I see celestial bodies in satellites in me, beams of light, heavenly essence of the Milky Way, galaxies all over our heads. And my last one, Beyond the Gray Fences. I used to know a life, beyond the gray fences and out of the dark forest in the haunting manor. I stand on the window sill considering my options. At the left wing of this permanent prison, in a country that only loves a lot. They have given us a one-way ticket to a place we have never been, in a life that we never had. Prickly eyes in a body that is no longer mine. In a red high-rise flat that shakes with the wind like a deer after being hit. I blinked several times to clear the cobwebs. This violence has to be an island for some, though, and still I only see the gray fences, or is it the remains of a red high-rise flat? Thank you.
Thank you so, so much to Brenda Vangessa and Natalia Hernandez. Please look for their work. Please engage with their poetry. Please support them. And thank you so much, Titi, for, thank you for that too. But thank you so much for inviting them here to share the stage this evening. Such a joy. So that was wonderful. Um, I wanted to just say a couple of words about who I am, in case you're wondering. Sorry for stealing the limelight for a second. I'm Charlie Roy, and I am one half of Stewed Rhubarb Press, and it is us who've had the great honour of publishing this very lovely pamphlet. It's just absolutely terrific. It really is, and it is such a privilege as a publisher when we get something this wonderful come across our submissions file. And if you'll bear with me one moment, what happens is we say, right, guys, send in your poems. And we get stacks and stacks of pamphlets sent to us because at Stewed Rhubarb, we specialize in pamphlets. We love the pamphlet form. For those of you thinking, I'm not entirely sure what a pamphlet is. A pamphlet, also called a chapbook, and typically it doesn't have a spine. There you go, fun fact. But it's a shorter collection of poems, and we really, really love pamphlets. And it's a great medium to champion. It's like the EP to the album, and it's a brilliant opportunity for us to try and find new and exciting poets, and sometimes poets who are doing something a little different to what they've done before, or perhaps poets who are kind of coming back to the form. It's a wonderful form, and it really gives us the chance to think about how we can nurture poets and what we can do for them. And one of the great things that we can do is we can get them paired up with an editor. And I'm telling you all of this because Titi had a wonderful editor. We were so privileged to have Anthony Vanni Capildeo, who was just so generous and just wonderful with their time. So I'd just like to ask you to give a big round of applause for them. Okay. I think the editor is really important and needs to kind of get that. I think it's just such a wonderful experience. And without any more about that, we're going to move on to Titi. And I'm going to do the official bio bit because that's the fun part. I think everyone knows, right? Yeah, we'll do it anyway. So, Titilayo Farukuoye is a writer, educator, and organizer based in Glasgow. Their work addresses social justice and community care and is informed by dreaming and the radical imagination. Titilayo has performed their work at literary events across Scotland. Titilayo co-directs the Scottish BPOC Award, the BPOC Writers Network, and is a winner of the 2022 Edwin Morgan Poetry Award. In 2023, Titilayo was selected for HarperCollins Author Academy for Writing Children's Literature. So, and that is all very impressive. I want you to also know that we didn't know any of that when we read the poetry because we read it blind. We don't look at who the people are. And this poetry was absolutely arresting. And Duncan, who's the other half of Stewed Rhubarb, and I both were just completely taken with it and so delighted that Titi was happy for us to publish the work. And so now we would like to, one, say congratulations, and then also let you share some readings with us. Yes, so put your hands together, please, for Titi.
How to start? I still wanted to say, Etsa, thank you. The way that you bring love and say the most cruel things and like bear witness to them is so important and why I really love your poetry. I didn't want to go past without saying that. So Etsa, please, thank you. Also, thank you for saying about Anthony. Like, they've been the most amazing editor. Yeah, it's just so brilliant. If you don't know that work, you check it out. And then again, thank you to the publisher. Thank you to Duncan, Charlie. Really appreciate it. Like, I've learned so much. I felt at home. I know I could raise anything all the time. And it's such a privilege to have a good publishing experience because I know that's not so common. But okay, I'm gonna start with a poem called In No Skin because it's probably my first official poem, as in the poem I wrote and published first. And it's a title poem. And it's from the past. Why can't you bow when you talk to me? That's all I ever ask, says my grandmother. Tears in her eyes, voice whining. She pulls on my arm to come down to my knees, pulls me down on the side next to her chair. On the happiest day of her life, I make her unhappy. Grateful and with heartache, I come to my knees, lower my gaze. I'm sorry, Grandma. I still need to be your child. Hey, my daughter, she sounds in approval as I knew. I'm fake. I'm the whitest of white. I'm like Aphrodite's sculpture in the British Museum, like Meryl Streep when she says, "We're all Africans, really." Like Jane in Tarzan, John Smith in Pocahontas. But that guy, he is eccentric. Eyes wide, smile bright, body leans forward. He wants to talk to me badly. An eternity long for lost connection, finding home in me. Not me, but who he thinks that I am. Finding Yoruba land in Europe. I know it in his name as he knows it in mine. The body dreading it. There is excitement. He shouts from across and I flinch. What did he say? Apologies, mumbling, acoustics. Walk over, lower your gaze. He's an elder, a prestigious academic. I apologize for my lack of Yoruba. His eyes sadden, though he doesn't want to show it. His shoulders sink, his smile laugh. Almost gone. So where are you from? He asks, using his white man's tongue. The campus in 3 sections. And I kind of tried to practice like how to talk about it. And, like when people ask me like, what is the pamphlet about? How does it work? To have a good answer. And I'm still practicing. But it does kind of try and talk about the beginning. So born into this world and receiving or being received by it, by how I am. And then trying to understand and learning and understanding yourself and interrogating that. And then into dreaming and challenging and building what you want it to be. So I think that's, and we're still reading from that first section. So just saying. And the first and the second poem I want to read from that section is Crowds, which is also a very old poem. The very first poem in the pamphlet. And it's very uninviting. And that's on purpose. Crowds. There are these crowds, white and smiley crowds, some real, others in between. Some familiar faces, some community. The black and brown faces keep in check. These white faces wouldn't know what it's like. They would believe anything. Simran calculates the years of me, as I mentioned, since when colonialism has darkened this world. Her and her friends of Kimberly Crenshaw's name with me, as I mentioned, intersectionality, mostly this white, soft-smiled crowd of men and women washes waves of empathy, of pity, of sadness over me. I can't imagine what traumatic event you must have gone through. I'm so sorry, says the guy with the Telugu who seems to talk about it for the first time. For some reason, he thinks I have suffered unimaginable pain. For some reason, he thinks my essence, my being is hurt. Even tough, perfect people like to tell me about the vulnerabilities because they think I am more vulnerable. I've made people feel safe, spent most of my life making people feel comfortable in my presence. People are supported, even when it was them that hurt me. Dark skinned, they said, with shame in their eyes. The word black turned sour years ago. Her dad is from Nigeria, they say, apologetically implying it's a bad thing. Her parents are divorced, her granddad not from here. The guy's strong. He won't remember a thing tomorrow. This conversation will never come up again. Yet his feelings about me are wide in the open, but he sees in me right in front of us, struggle out of place, pain, frustration. Maybe my activism is too dramatic. Maybe it's my womanhood, my skin, my passion for what is right. What would you aspire to then? Working for race equality means if I wearing black. Usually he's fun, up for an easy laugh, a quick favor or rant, not perplexed. Still this, I'm laughing. Nobody has ever asked me this before. Would I not still always think the world to be better? Wouldn't I still want it to make it more whole, regardless of my position in it? The soft smiles, white men and women wash over me, empathetic waves of sad eyes, empathy, pity. In a different world, a donation box is off my throat. Have pity, £3, get a child in Africa to school, 20 will feed it for the entire school year. Donate now, forge white privilege. Thank you. We need a break from this. So I'm reading a poem after that I wrote after St. Camilla, which is Drama in Judas. I circle the page, sprinkle random words over it, crumbs, egg yolk, time machine. I hope that these words trick me, allow me to write to you, allow me to be with you one last time. I continue. Panda bear, mosquito net, drama, wasp. Would you remember the spectacle I made of missing your birth? That I looked away when you finally came out of your shell? How I made it about myself, how I'm doing the same now when you are no longer here to protest. What if there was a mosquito net in place, allowing a panda to travel across the universe, collecting crumbs of us and what is left of your memory next to mine? What if there were a spaceship like that, fueled by the drums of our heartbeats, light years away? So your heart is beating in my ears long after you have gone. I told Mom on the train that this is my bonus poem, but I'm going to read it now. So, this is probably lots of people have seen it recently because it's published with 14 poems, and it's a recent, really exciting thing that I've done, and it's kind of trying to get us all to reimagine and practice resistance in our heads and changing and what it actually means to, yeah, just jiggle things up in our heads, and maybe then the reality of it will be different as well. So that's what I'm trying with the poem. But I really have much joy with it because it really reminds me of the days when I was just a student activist and like we were sitting around and like talking about free bleeding and being really cool together because we just like put towels down and be like really free. And I was like, wow, I want to be like that, and pretending that I was already like that and that kind of stuff. But it's also like a really joyous play with gender, which, if you know me, I love. So here comes, oh no, I need to drink. The other detail about this is that I would loop it in an ideal world. I would loop it forever, and you would have to sit here. Bleed. She sits on her throne and bleeds free. Green velvet cushions framed in gold. Thick boughs majestically decorate the prosperous seed. She bleeds free. A generous lump escapes, crumbling into a mat's white towel. Don't you dare think of bleach. This majestic stain will stay as Her Majesty bleeds free. He sits on his throne and bleeds free. Green velvet cushions framed in gold. Thick boughs majestically decorate the prosperous seed. He bleeds free. A generous lump escapes, crumbling into a mat's white towel. Don't you dare think of bleach. This majestic stain will stay as His Majesty bleeds free. They sit on their throne and bleed free. Green velvet cushions framed in gold. Thick boughs majestically decorate the prosperous seed. They bleed free. A generous lump escapes, crumbling into a matte white towel. Don't you dare think of bleach. This majestic stain will stay as Her Majesty bleeds free. She sits on her throne and bleeds free. Green velvet cushions framed in gold. Thick boughs majestically decorate the prosperous seeds. She bleeds free. A generous lump escapes, crumbling into a matte white towel. Don't you dare think of bleach. This majestic stain will stay as Her Majesty bleeds free. He sits on his throne. Green velvet cushions framed in gold majestically decorate the prosperous seed. They bleed free. This majestic stain will stay. She sits. Bleeds free, bleed free, don't you dare think of bleach. Thick boughs majestically decorate, bleed free. Majestic stain, gold, velvet, thick boughs, dare think of bleach. Framed in gold, they bleed free. He sits, she sits, thick, majestic boughs, sea bleeds free, generous love. They sit, the Majesty bleeds free.
And going into that middle section, that section that's kind of internal, where you're like, oh shit, I'm part of all of that shit that's happening in the world.
And this one is called Teach Me Language. It came to me, I really must say, like some things came to me, most of them. But it was a beautiful workshop by Rick Dog, who you should check out if you don't know. And he was basically just encouraging us to write really crazy stuff. So I, for a long time, thought this was too crazy for the world, but I realized it's very cool. Teach Me Language after Rick Dog. It's the twist of the tongue that matters the most. Twist it, but not too much. Twist it as fast as you twist your brain. Twist hard. It's normal to get them red bruises in the beginning. Yeah, quite normal. Sorry about that. You tried learning the guitar at some point? Precisely, exactly like that. Them red lines on your fingertips. Them red lines just on your tongue. Yeah, it all heals after a while. The problem is that you need to practice constantly. Yes, all the time. Do not let your mouth slip out of it. It will get lost. So hard to retrieve after a while, maybe become impossible. Guys, it's how I lost my U, my Norwegian U, and yeah, I sometimes worry about my A. Can you imagine? Such a simple thing once. You also want to stretch your gums. You can start by pressing up again hard against the top of your mouth. Harder.
Come on, harder. What? You can feel your saliva burning up? Yes, you're on the right path, loving this for you. Don't you dare think you'll ever be as good as me, though. Je ne te laisserai pas être enchanté par cette langue supérieure. C'est pas de magie. Le français, l'anglais, le norvégien, pas le tout impossible. Bravo. Exactement comme ça, formidable. Puis, comment? Vous disiez quoi? Dreamy, right? Well, you got it. That's what where you want to go. Once you dream in the language, the only pedestal is to swear in it, not to know the words, not to casually drop them in conversation, to prove that you have done it. This can only be accomplished if you actually lose your mind, defect to furry, beyond your anger, still you swear in that language. Believe me, when I promise, amongst that sweat, spit, stomping, yellow rashes, and pulled out hair lies supreme knowledge, wisdom, the golden medal, you'd be the winner, champion of all leagues. Well, you'd never get there. You say it's happened to you, your great-grandfather once. Well done. Well done. Please applaud him. Put up his photograph up the wall above the Bible. Compose a song carrying his name. Let your voice and musical talent be strong. Ensure people are aware. Let them know that one of you has made it. This is proof that we let you lot in. Cool. I'm going to read. A poem called Nature, which is published before as an audio poem in the same anthology that we mentioned with Sally, mixtape, but I think it's the first edition. I don't remember. If you are into poetry, but maybe not into reading that much, definitely a good place to check out. Beautiful, gorgeous work with a lot of people being published in this room. So good way to, I don't know, make connections when you mingle. I don't know. And maybe the other secret fun story is that I submitted this very out of the blue because the anthology has mentoring around it and support and all that stuff, and went through all of that. And then I said, thank you. And then 2 weeks later, said something completely different. And dear Hannah was very happy anyway. I think, I don't know. But at least that's here as well. And yeah, it's called Nature. My skin registers the air first. Most visible in the wind is my body. Goosebumps develop all over. My skin registers the air first. Most visible in the wind is my hair. Goosebumps develop all over my body. I breathe. Take a deep breath, ground my toes in soft, moist grass. My chest laid. For a split second, share freedom with the bird above me. For a split second, I'm closer to the sun. I'm back closer to the grass, heels grounded, feet hip width apart. I lift my face to the sun and smile. Like the old Norwegian lady, happiness spills over my face and through my body. I imagine I feel like her, feel that moment when she encounters the first sunlight of the year after long, eternal winter. Maybe how people say you start with my
The poem, okay, I'm gonna read one short one and then read the final long poem that I hope closes the pamphlet in a way that makes you feel hopeful or held in our shared resistance, blah blah blah, all of them. But this one is also from the middle section, and it's about that kind of thing of like, actually, I have a role and I can maybe be part of challenging it. But it's also called crab, and you'll figure out how or why. You think I live on the dry land, the spots between the beach and the shore, just wet, just dry enough. You can't cope with even a tiny bit of dry sand in your eyes. Its roughness scratches your vision. The hot sun makes that you don't think straight. Unforgiven constructions drilled into the sea floor, waves washed up into my life. Wild and big you carry yourself, disregarding your faith is tied to ours. This is Ancestral Heartbeat. It's a commission. The wonderful Melly Brooms, who is a brilliant dancer, did this project called Wrapped Up in This. And as part of the project, she commissioned different writers to write a couple of pieces alongside it. I was not a planned commission, but the dearest Mira, a really great friend of mine, was, and she was like, hey, could you give me some editing stuff? Could you read all my piece? And I was like, oh, sure. And then she's like, oh, would you want to write it together? And I was like, oh, okay, fine. And then we watched the beautiful, brilliant, gorgeous, wowing film that was Melly's performance, and the poem was written by itself from my hand. And when we submitted, Melly was like, oh God, wow, you are a separate submission. This is great. So I guess it's maybe to say that it's really affirming when you work together in community, because you will get the stuff that you're saying, and then automatically you'll feel prouder or greater about yourself, and you won't hide it, but you'll actually give it a go. And so and maybe that's also the right place to say that the Scottish Refugee Writers Network is also why I'm here and why all of these things happen to me. And I'm so grateful that we continue to organize and write together and create spaces for each other. So this needed to be said before we wrap up. I'm gonna drink water and then ancestral heartbeats. There's a consciousness that carries us, a strong beat, hearts, beats, generational, ancestral beats, a mother's breath and bosom, auntie's spirits and loss, our work, the work that you will do, the consciousness enables it, entangles it, shares it, we depend on it. Neither makes its existence sense. How does my beating heart make sense to you? How much does my beating heart make sense to you? How much sense do we make to our hearts? Hearts, blood, beats, chanting in your direction, charging power. Pain holds us up, holds us in space, makes us hold on, joy, stays despite of it. It is hope that carries us on, blood and heartbeat. It's the consciousness that remembers for us. We are thriving because we're still here. More powerful than ever, consciousness swelling up, opening up, building up, as if
The sky was reaching down to kiss us. Black hands, comforting, embracing, guiding, black hands extending, waving, feeling our pulse, sending electric shock waves of vibrance, love, acceleration, power, restoration, forgiveness. What does it all the book? Profound love, agents of our own messiahs. We are powerful, more powerful than ever. I don't need you to be nice. No need for you to tolerate me. I am and I will be powerful. There's nothing that you can do about it. Shrill and profound sounds, dauntingly true words, grounding, thrilling belief, extensive euphoria, you and me, us all, shades of bronze, brown, red, gold, and blue. We all are out of this world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Titi, for sharing so generously. That was amazing. Now, we are gonna be given blessing to run about 15 minutes over so that we can get some questions in. Everyone up for that? Yes, brilliant. So we can take a couple of questions from the floor and then a couple if there are any online. So if you'd like to, if anyone's got one all ready to go, have a think. I have a question to get us started. And that is, you've mentioned the Scottish BPOC Writers Network and what that means to you. And it's a huge part of your work. I wondered if you'd like to take this opportunity to say a few more things about that and what it's afforded you.
I was going to be lazy and sit and I was like, maybe I should do that. Yeah, I don't know how to say that better apart from saying I wasn't a poet before I joined the network, and I would definitely not have become one because I was actually in a university degree studying creative writing, learning from white poets, but didn't manage to encourage me in a way. And that's not on them personally, but it's just to say that it's really important to be around like-minded people who try and encourage you rather than say, you just wrote a little bit more like that, or give you examples that don't represent you, and so you automatically believe that you have to try and write in that way. And I think that's why my work didn't land before, because I kind of had this white way of the literature and stuff that I had read or seen as examples didn't really work with my stuff. And then as soon as I do crazy stuff, people are like, oh cool, that's great. So maybe there should be more stuff that encourages us and each other. And I think the Rights Network is with that for us at the moment. And I think we all hope that we don't have to exist at some point, but we currently do. Yeah. Yeah, and it's great, and it's very great.
Excellent. Is there anyone on the floor who might have in the room who might have a question? Have we got any questions online? You've got a question. Yes.
You spoke about the communities that helped you write this pamphlet. Where do you hope this pamphlet goes? What new communities do you hope to?
I'll repeat that. So JJ asks that so DZ spoke about the communities that helped them to write the pamphlet, but where do they hope that the pamphlet will land? Who's it for? Where's it going?
It's a beautiful question, and maybe a daunting one. I think I wanted to go to all of you and all the people I'm in community with. I'm a bit scared of random people reading it, even though I guess that's what it's about. Sorry, I'm not scared. I'm very excited about new people reading my work and maybe being inspired to hold or have conversations like that or feel affirmed in their conversations. I across or somewhere else in the world. I think there's a lot of people, like-minded people, who think about the topics that are covered in the pamphlet anywhere in the world. And I think these are the people I would like to read. There are, I think, brief acknowledgements mainly. Like I've tried really hard to mention people and the groups that I'm involved with. And I guess also maybe if you have someone who is creative in your life, encourage them and support them. And I think in that way, we can all learn and grow and support each other and have more great stuff out there. Yeah. A lovely answer. Yes, please do.
I love it when you're love to speak a little bit about, that and then also if you have any worries when you book your performance and stuff, have to take a page, have to put that across,
Yeah, a lovely question about the musicality Titi delivers with such musicality when they deliver the poems, and how that has been put across and translated to the page, and how they go about delivering that. Thank you. That's a beautiful question, obviously coming from you, beautiful musician. Maybe the secret is that I don't have any musical education, and so in somewhere deep inside of me, that's something I would like to do or know. And I've discovered through my poetry that I have it somewhere, and it comes out. I'm not planning on it, but it definitely comes out. And oh no, I now forgot the other part. That one is answer. How it's on the page. Yes, exactly. So I'm dyslexic, and half of the time I believe, well, I can pass and nobody will ever notice. And then the other half of the time I'm like, oh my, I really miss some really. So I shouldn't say this one. One of the, there's some typos or some things that I just don't notice for such a long time that so I was very happy to have very strong-eyed editors and supporters as publishers to just see my Milan friend. But I think bringing it on the page was such a reaffirming or affirming challenge, because I actually managed, right? It's there. When I gave it to people, there wasn't that many horrible typos in there actually. Looking forward to trying to video. But I think, and a lot of my work comes to me in musically or hearing, and I often record things rather than write them down. And I hope that also comes across by how things look on the page. I really tried to be a bit less traditional. And Anthony, my editor, was really great at pushing me and lean into that. That's great. That looks so cool. You can, So I think I want to encourage others who are wondering about that or who want to play with that to think about it. Yes.
question. I'm really interested in this idea about dreaming and writing about dreaming. And I guess I wondered if you could talk about how you, is there any rituals or how you get into that dream state and write from that place? So I guess that the world is so constricting and it doesn't really allow us to dream in so many ways. So if you have any specific approaches to kind of dreaming it through yourself from the world and thinking it.
So the lovely question about the process of writing about dreams and how to access that dream space to get it onto the page. It's a really lovely question to think about that, and how do you go about that? Thank you. Yeah, beautiful question. I think, what I'm mainly, or what I'm seeing is informed by dreaming is because I try to frame my intentions around how I want things to be rather than what they are, and then try and challenge it. So I guess if I think this is a cool thing that is happening, I'm trying to visualize what it would be if that wasn't happening. And I think that's a really important practice for me, because that's what I imagine will lead us to being able to change the world. Because if we all came together to imagine different, less cruel situation in X situation, it will probably change and it will probably empower us through like the power of all of our imaginations together to think, okay, so what should happen in Rapa right now instead? And if we all think about it, it will come to the people who are currently enacting the or like the genocidal stuff that they're doing. And they will maybe also come up with different versions of what they could do in this space, right? But I don't have a physical ritual. I think it's just about like bumping into the scenarios that where you feel so extreme harm, whether it's yourself or other communities that you feel with and are in solidarity with, and then thinking about, okay, what would that look like if that wasn't the case? What do I want it to look like? And then realizing that obviously my solution is not the one, right? It's just like me hoping that we all imagine something else and change.
Lovely, hopeful answer. Yes.
I didn't think we'd got to this. Well, I was thinking of some of the words you used when I was talking the story. I can't remember the title, but you know, you talked about people looking at you with pity and feeling sorry. You said those words quite strongly, empathy and sorrow and I thought, what is how do you manage that those feelings that come from that pity and that say, oh, I'm sorry, and you know that attitude, that feeling that comes to you, and how do you I can't believe it. How do you feel about that when you hear the word sorry? Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you, or you know, what do you want to say?
Really interesting question, picking up on some of the specific words and language that Titi uses in the poetry, particularly things like pity and sorrow and I am sorry, and how they manage that in the writing.
Yes, beautiful question. And I think it's something all my Jewish people kind of like contemplating. I think for the most, or definitely for the most part, I try to not be in spaces a lot where that happens to me because that's where you drain your energy and you in the end you're just gonna be like, and I guess especially right now, I feel in Scotland or Glasgow, Edinburgh, you're really fortunate that there are communities and people around you where you don't get those sorrow and these like fake empathy things of like, I am better than you and therefore I feel sorry for you things. But I think it's also that kind of like internal knowing that that's like a white supremacist ideology thing, and how do I put that to the side and know my self worth without that person being able to undermine it by saying, I'm so sorry that you're black and that's why you, or I'm so sorry you're queer and that's why you have this, or whichever you have, now you have. But it's really hard, and I think that form specifically came from the moment where I was invited to speak and I spoke I think important things, but it wasn't really well received because the people were just to listen to them and they didn't understand the actual message of it. And this is then where speaking or sharing the message that I wanted to share if it can reach the right audience, and how can I seek the right audience instead. Is that response to your question?
Yeah, that's a great answer. I like that you said you avoid the situation, but it's not like you're in it as a poet. People ask me to do the same responses and things now that they go thing, and I think, you know, your energy is drained when you hear that sympathy and that one so sorry, and it makes me so angry, and they're smiling, you know, and how angry I am.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts on that too. We have one last question. Yes. No question. It's a terrific closing question, by the way. And so Titi's spoken about the three spaces in the pamphlet that they write from. And so where might they be? What space might they be writing from now or next?
That's a very important question. Thank you so much. Please help me to find an answer. I also need to thank Leo personally because they will lend me this beautiful suit. And thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, where will I write from next? I think I really want to lean into the dreaming thing because I think we need to have more of the dreaming thing. I think if we all dreamt more, and maybe dreaming doesn't encapsulate radically dreaming or like making it possible dreaming by informed solidarity. I'm obviously work in progress title because that obviously didn't make sense, but I think that's where I want to be writing from, like thinking more about how things become different. But also, I'm a bit, I don't know, like these poems are all really old. I'm not all of them, but a lot of them are really old, and I'm a bit like, oh, and now, which is really exciting to see. And I'm clearly still writing a lot, and there's new stuff happening, and maybe other poems that I'm also trying to get into. So, I'm not saying more, but yeah, thank you for that question and for the. And I knew that your closing question was going to be great. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Titi. I would like to thank you, our lovely audience, and our lovely audience online. So much love to everybody. I would like to say thank you again to Brenda Vendessa and Etsalia Nandis for their beautiful sharing this evening. I'd please like to ask you to put your hands together for them right now. I'd also like to thank the wonderful team at Lighthouse because they are superb and wonderful. So thank you very much for Lighthouse for that. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is to stay seated for a moment. What we're going to do is the following. You're going to do the biggest round of applause you've ever done as Titi makes their way around the corner. Yes.
There's a surprise, a tropical, or maybe not, but Ugandan fruit surprise outside. And I think only very few people here know. But there's more than me signing a book, there's also some stuff that you might want to try, which might be the best fruit you've ever had. Maybe not. Or maybe yes.
Ugandan fruit surprise, but also a signing. What could be better? So what I'm going to ask you to do in just one moment is if you could stay seated to give Titi just a moment to kind of scurry around the corner and get a spot for signing. And the Ugandan fruit surprise is ready. And then if you would very much, all of you, take your time to get the pamphlet signed, tell them how absolutely superb the poetry is, and congratulations on your pamphlet. And I think that's basically everything. So the big round of applause, please.